Hello and welcome to the series where we look at humans versus chess computers. We will look at the progression through history of strategies developed by us humans to combat the ever-increasing power and intelligence of chess AI. This is the third video. In the first video, we looked at how Kasparov, maybe the greatest chess player of all time, crushed the chess computer Deep Thought in 1989. In the second video, we looked at the rematch where the computer had been upgraded to Deep Blue in 96 and they played a 6-game match and he lost that first game. This is game 2. And he had the white pieces after the devastating loss. He opened up with knight to f3. Garry Kasparov, is the best attacking chess player of all time. In the first game, he tried for an all-out attack in his signature style, but he got punished badly. If he can't overwhelm the machine with his signature attacking style, is he then doomed to lose the match? Existentially, in this game, Kasparov is in a position that no human has ever been in before, facing, in his own words, this terrible, faceless monster. He is the world chess champion, supposedly the best chess player on earth, and he is down one game in a match against a completely unknown entity comprised of technology. After the first game, after losing in the first game, something very, very curious happened. Kasparov asked his opponent where he went wrong, but out of habit, he just asked the person sitting in front of him, who was just an operator of the chess computer, who just had a screen where the moves would be inputted from the huge server that hosted Deep Blue down in the server room in the basement. And this poor guy sitting in front of Kasparov didn't know what to say to Kasparov. Kasparov asked, where did I go wrong? And this guy hardly knew how to play chess. He was just there to input the moves Kasparov played and to read out the moves from the screen and that the computer played and put them on the board. And this is so interesting because we face this today, every day, this interface with the faceless technology. There is a very, very famous story in the chess world where Kasparov is asked by a journalist about his world championship matches with Anatoly Karpov, one of the absolute greatest chess players of all time. He played a total of 5 matches, Kasparov did, against Karpov. And the journalist asked, it is very well known that you are bitter rivals, that you hate each other, your politics do not align, your ideas of chess do not align, you hate each other. But after every game you play, you and Karpov, we can see that you sit at the board, you smile, you move the pieces around, and you analyze the game that you just played. If you hate each other so, how can this be? Kasparov looked at the journalist and said, well, you must understand that Karpov is about the only person in the entire world who really knows what I'm talking about. With this match against Deep Blue, that human interaction, that way that bridge can make a human connection between two players who otherwise have nothing in common, hate each other even, can make that human interaction suddenly against the AI that is gone. We see the first blood on the board as Deep Blue captures the pawn here on c4. Kasparov jumps in with his knight trying to gain space. And it will be very, very interesting to see if he will have some way to change up his strategy and maybe find a way to fight against this terrible faceless monster that is capable of calculating an absolutely inhuman amount of position. Specifically, it is 200 million positions every second calculated by the player with the black pieces in this game. With this knight move, Kasparov is targeting this pawn here on c4 that he has momentarily given up, and we see knight coming to a3, furthering this attack here. Deep blue captures in the center, having these two fearsome pawns, and Kasparov is now temporarily down 2 pawns, but knight takes. It is reduced to 1 pawn. And I would like you to try to put yourself in Kasparov's shoes for this match. Imagine sitting there at the board with the whole world watching, hour after hour, across from an opponent that never tires, never makes mistakes in the ordinary sense of the word, an opponent that doesn't lose confidence in the position after a defeat or after a bad move, an opponent that doesn't feel the immense pressure of the occasion with the crushing weight of the whole world watching and what this all means for humanity. He's playing against an opponent that doesn't care at all about any of this. So rook comes here to attack the queen. And this is the reality of playing against Deep Blue, a machine that calculates 200 million positions every single second, immune to fear, impervious to doubt. And in the same time, for Kasparov, this isn't just a game of chess. It's a battle of mind versus machine, human intuition against the relentless calculation. And he lost the first game. The great, great champion lost the first game. Can he come back? Now, with this move, pawn to e5, we have reached the end of the opening phase of the game. And it is time to take stock and look at what is going on. And the primary thing we can see is that black, the machine, does have the center control with these 2 pawns. And we have a 5-4 majority of pawns on the king side of the board. But we have a 2-1 majority on the queen side of the board. And a 2-1 majority is not the same as a 5-4 majority. Both are just 1 pawn more, but you could also put it in a different way. You could say that on this side, Deep Blue has 25% more pawns than white, and on this side, white has 100% more pawns than black. This will be very, very significant as the game goes on. The other imbalance that Kasparov has played for is the minor pieces. The minor pieces are the bishops and knights. Those are the minor pieces. We can see both have a dark squared bishop, but the imbalance is the light squared bishop versus the knight. So how will this imbalance play out? How will Kasparov try to get anything from this? Right now, he puts this rook here to keep some extra protection of this pawn. Queen is attacked, queen has to move, and so it does back to a4. Deep Blue doubles up with the rooks, also forming a battery with the bishop, and the dark squared bishop springs into life, momentarily leaving the b2 pawn rather undefended. But it's not taken. Instead, after this move attacking the knight, the bishop drops back to protect the knight. And now Kasparov starts moving the pawns. So, pawn to b4, a mysterious move, because it can just be captured. Yeah. But what does that mean? It means that this bishop has now moved back and forth a couple of times, causing, as we would say in chess, black to lose time. Also, with the bishop out of the way, not defending the knight, Kasparov can do this, capturing the knight. And here it's very important to understand that deep blue cannot capture with the rook. If deep blue could capture with the rook, Kasparov would have absolutely nothing to show for it in this position. He would have given up the pawn for absolutely nothing. But he has a trick up his sleeve, and he knows deep blue cannot and will not play this move because of the relationship of the rook, the bishop, and the queen. In this position, pawn to a3 traps this bishop. It cannot move because the rook would then capture the queen, and we would win the bishop for free, and Kasparov would win the game easily. So what does that mean? It means that after he comes in here and captures the knight on f6, deep blue has to capture with the pawn. And if you go back and you watch the video on the first game in this match, which deep blue won, you can see that it's very interesting. In that game, deep blue inflicted exactly this type of weakness on Kasparov. So he's already doing something that the machines at this point were not able to do. He is learning from his mistakes. He's even learning from the machine. At this point, this is way before neural networks and LLMs and all of that. At this point, the machines couldn't learn. So that is one advantage of the human player. Queen infiltrates. And deep blue asks, should we exchange queens? No, Kasparov says absolutely no. I want to have this pawn instead. And he gains his pawn back with a bit of an advantage of having now an outside passed pawn in this position. Okay, we want to try to keep that under control from the black side, so we go back. Kasparov also goes back, trying to refocus his queen, and you will see a tremendous amount of maneuvering in this game, starting about now. So Kasparov starts by exchanging the rooks here. Rook takes rook and queen takes. Then he gets out his bishop here, and let's notice that this bishop is on the light squares, this bishop is on the dark squares. If you don't think about chess, if you only calculate, maybe these two just look like bishops to you. But if you are able to restructure your thinking and thinking about the relevant parts of the position, you can see that all these pawns are on dark squares along with this bishop, whereas white doesn't have any pawns in the center on light squares. And Kasparov starts using this fact to his advantage in a tremendous grind that starts now. Queen comes here, defending the bishop. Again, an infiltrating move with the queen. And we see why. So now we have a lot of control on the dark squares looking at this pawn. And rather than trying to save this pawn, there's a counterattack from deep blue. And Kasparov takes the pawn. And later analysis have shown that this could be viewed as a pretty serious mistake by the human. Because now the computer jumps in with a threat to this very important pawn, and this bishop has to be saved, otherwise it may get trapped here in enemy territory. It goes back, and what does that mean? It means that it's now black to move, backing this pawn. So we still have material equality. We have now 4 pawns versus 4 pawns, but the 100% extra pawns that we saw with 2 versus 1 here is now gone. The only advantage in the pawn structure of the game that Kasparov has now is that these 2 pawns are doubled, meaning that this one can't really move, so this one is not as strong as, say, this one. And okay, actually I will say he also has a different advantage. He also has this pawn. If you contrast these 2 pawns, see, they both look like completely normal pawns. This one cannot move. This can move. Also, it has a clear path with no pawns being able to intercept it or block it along the way. So this is again an outside passed pawn. So Kasparov does have the advantage simply in this pawn being better than this pawn, and the more mysterious positional idea of these 2 bishops not being exactly equal. Kasparov starts pushing his advantage. So Kasparov gets in with his queen, still defending this from the attack here, but also trying to hurt this pawn up. Okay. Deep blue wants to exchange rooks. Kasparov says, okay, we can absolutely do that. The art of the exchanging pieces, extremely important in chess. And Kasparov absolutely happy to exchange the rooks, but there's something he does not want to exchange, and we will see that very shortly. Look here, the queens. The deep blue wants to exchange the queens, but no. The queen backs up. Why? Well, first of all, he needs the queens on the board to keep checkmate threats alive for the time being. Also, he realizes something that deep blue doesn't realize. He is on the attack. He has the best pawn. He has the best position. If you are attacking in chess, this is not something that calculation can tell you. This is chess understanding. If you are attacking in chess, it is, and you have the queen, it is good to have opposite colored bishops. Why? Because if you attack on, say, the light squares, then this bishop might as well not even be on the board, because it can never really interfere with the light squares. It can never go to the white squares, meaning that defending with opposite colored bishops against queen and bishop is very hard, and therefore in this position white has a great advantage. This is check. Computer goes here. We see another check here. Back and forth a little bit, just a little bit of a dance. Is he going for a draw by threefold repetition? No. Now he changes his plans, targeting this pawn with a potential checkmate at some point if the queen could come in and land here. So, centralizing move. Bishop here. Threatening, of course, queen here. King goes back. And back with the bishop again. Is it going to be a draw? Is the computer team hoping for a threefold repetition? Again, not exactly. Not exactly. Okay, the bishop drops back. It didn't like being unprotected down here. And the bishop is attacked. And now I'd like to talk just a little bit about Kasparov's secret weapon that he had in this position and in this match in general. So sometimes we will talk about, when we talk about humans versus computers, we talk about the human emotions and the human mental state as being a disadvantage for the humans because it can be fragile, you can lose confidence, and so on and so forth. But Kasparov has this absolutely incredible mental fortitude, the most amazing mental fortitude of any chess player, I think, who has ever lived. If we go back and talk about the matches with this legendary player, Anatoly Karpov, How did Kasparov enter the world stage of the absolute elite of chess? His first World Chess Championship match. He was 21 years old. He had qualified to play the great champion Anatoly Karpov. The match was the first to win 6 games would win the match. Draws did not count. And what happened? Pretty quickly, Karpov was up 5 games to 0 games against his young opponent. Kasparov couldn't lose a single game more and he would lose the match, and he hadn't won a single game. Did he give up? Did he crumble? No. He would later say, I had the great fortune to have the world chess champion as my personal chess coach, basically. And he just shifted his gears and started playing incredible chess. And the match continued for 5 more months with draw after draw after draw without Karpov winning a single game. And Kasparov started winning a game here, winning a game there, until finally the score was 5-3. They had spent 5 months playing an insane amount of chess, and the match was called off and a rematch was scheduled. That was how Kasparov started on the absolute world stage at the highest level of chess. He would play 4 more matches against Karpov, narrowly winning each of them. Will Kasparov exchange the queens? No. He says, okay, I can't overwhelm you with my attacking style. So let me show you what Karpov taught me. Slow, positional grind. Move by move by move. Please exchange the queens. No. Please exchange the queens. No. Check. Please exchange the queens. No. Okay, there's no way to offer any more queen trades that make any sense. Therefore, here and then check. Okay, please exchange the queens. No. And at this point, this pawn is under attack, can't be defended anymore, so Deep Blue starts to lash out. And Kasparov finally backs a pawn. Did you see that Karpovian, as we say in chess, this boa constrictor style that he learned from Karpov, of just dancing around with the queen and bishop, just adding a little bit of pressure, 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 until finally there were no good moves for his opponent. That is the Garry Kasparov that the whole chess world feared, and had feared for 10 years and would fear for 10 more years after this. Deep Blue pushes on. Kasparov starts turning the screws. Check. King comes here. There is another check. King goes back, now on the back rank. Another check. Just being super patient with the queen, getting her into the perfect position so she can work with the bishop. Check. Okay, the king comes here. And the bishop just drops back. Now we are threatening queen here. Check. So, bishop here. Check. King comes back. Bishop here. Bishop comes back here. Deep Blue unable to make progress. Kasparov with all the time in the world. Let's improve the king a little bit. That's what Karpov would do. Try to attack some pawns. It will not work. We'll just chase the bishop and keep everything defended. The bishop moves back. Now Kasparov says, okay, let's force some more exchanges. Why? Because now all my pieces are in the optimal position. and we see f4. If you know your internet chess law, you know that en passant is forced, therefore pawn takes pawn. En passant is not really forced, but it is in this position. Pawn takes pawn. This is called the en passant move. Yes, it is a real chess move. And pawn takes pawn. What is the result of this? Well, now these two pawns are isolated, making them even weaker. Kasparov still has all his trumps, the very good advanced outside passed pawn, and it is all one pawn island, with the pawns being able to protect their good pawn friends. Bishop comes back, still no progress being able to be made. Let's keep that bishop even more out, restricting it like this. King moves that doesn't do anything. A check. King moves. Check. Bishop comes here. Now looking at this pawn. How can we defend that? The answer is we can't. Bishop comes here. And finally, a second pawn is captured. Kasparov is now up 2 pawns. And now he says, do you want to exchange queens? Because if you do, how are you ever going to stop this pawn avalanche coming down? Deep Blue, of course, realizes that it can't afford the queen trade and therefore avoids it, starts avoiding the queen trade. More checks. More checks. And it is getting extremely desperate for the computer. Another check, because now the bishop comes in, and very soon the exchange of queens cannot be avoided anymore. Check. And as soon as that happens, the game is over, because these pawns will be unstoppable. And here we have it. Queen coming here. Check. Defended by the bishop. The exchange is therefore forced. Recaptures here. Computer tries to grab the bishop, and the bishop just moves out of the way. And in this position, the computer gave the operator who was making the moves on the board for it a little thing that says, I resign, and he would extend his hand and shake hands with Kasparov. And Kasparov came back with what I believe is the most impressive game of chess ever played, outlasting a computer. He played almost perfectly. He beats it with his better strategic understanding, taking you could say that his right hook, his signature style of overwhelming aggressive attacks, he had lost that. But he came with his left hook, his honed understanding of chess, his deep understanding of chess, and he came back and won a grind fest instead. The queen plus bishop of opposite colors, it favors the attacker because the attacker has that extra piece, and that was the crucial bit of knowledge that Kasparov played for and used to win this game. So now we see that both players, Kasparov and Deep Blue, are able to win with the white pieces in 1996. In the next video, we will take a look at the next exciting game of this epic 6-game match that they played, to see how Deep Blue was going to come back with the white pieces and what Kasparov was going to do about it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you had a great and relaxing time, and I hope I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.